Hey, y'all, what's up? How's everyone doing today? Am I out of focus? I hope not. If you love books and controversial conversations, you're in the right place today. We are deep diving into cancel culture in literature. Can we really separate the art from the artist? Or does supporting an author, no matter how great their work, mean that we're endorsing their beliefs? Buckle up. This is about to get real. So picture this. You're curled up on the couch with a good book, one that has shaped your childhood. Let's take Harry Potter, for example. You're back at Hogwarts, you're feeling all nostalgic, and then bam, you remember the controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling. Suddenly, you're wondering, should I still be reading this? This dilemma is what a lot of readers face today. More than ever, we're questioning whether we should support authors who have made problematic statements, who have engaged or held beliefs that don't align with our own. Some argue that a book belongs to the reader once it's published, while others say that by purchasing and promoting authors' work, we're financially and socially supporting them. But where do we draw the line? Are all mistakes equal? Should an author's personal life affect how we view their work? Let's break that down. Okay, let's talk about some authors who have faced serious backlash. J.K. Rowling, the queen of the wizarding world, has been under fire for her statements regarding transgender rights. This has led to boycotts of Harry Potter merchandise, renaming Quidditch. I'm not a Harry Potter person, y'all. And even fan fiction communities rewriting parts of the story to be more inclusive. But at the same time, millions of people still cherish the series, arguing that Hogwarts belongs to the fans now, not Rowling. Then we have Orson Scott Card. The Ender's Game author is widely respected in sci-fi circles, but his openly anti-LGBTQ and plus views have led to significant backlash. When the movie adaptation came out, many fans encouraged to boycott it, leading to an ongoing debate about whether his books can be enjoyed separate from his personal beliefs. And then we have Sherman Alexie, The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, is a modern classic, especially in the classrooms. However, Alexie faced multiple allegations of sexual misconduct, causing schools and libraries to reconsider including his books in their curriculum. Even Dr. Seuss, y'all. Dr. Seuss childhood, it's a childhood favorite, and he isn't immune. Some of his earlier books contained racist imagery, leading to 6 of his titles being pulled from publication. This sparked debates about whether we should remove problematic works from circulation or use them as educational tools. A beloved author of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Matilda has been criticized for his racist and anti-Semitic remarks. His books continue to be widely read, but recent editions have been edited to remove offensive language. So that brings us to the ultimate debate. Should we separate the art from the artist? What do y'all think, y'all? Should we? Some people say yes, and here's why. Art is timeless. A book's impact can outlast its creator. We still study The Great Gatsby, even if Scott Fitzgerald wasn't exactly a role model. Shakespeare's work are full of problematic themes, yet they remain essential reading. Personal morality is subjective. If we canceled every author with questionable views, we lose a massive chunk of literature. H.P. Lovecraft, Charles Dickens, Ernest Hemingway, all had deeply problematic views, yet their books are still studied and celebrated. Boycotting limits discussion. Instead of erasing the controversial works, some believe that we should engage critically with them. Reading and analyzing problematic literature can actually help us learn and grow. But of course, there's the other side of the argument. Money and influence matter. Every book sale, movie ticket, and streaming view puts money in an author's pocket. That's why some fans refuse to buy copies of Harry Potter. They do not want to financially support Rowling. Representation of harm. If an author has a history of making harmful statements about marginalized groups, should their story still be celebrated? Some argue that Rowling's depiction of goblins in Harry Potter is rooted in anti-Semitic stereotypes, or that Orson Scott Card's work may reflect his views in subtle ways. Accountability matters. By continuing to embrace problematic authors, are we excusing their behavior? Many believe that holding our authors accountable encourages a more ethical literary world. This is where things get messy, because what about historical authors who lived in different times? Do we judge them by today's standards, or do we separate their work from their personal beliefs? Most readers don't see this debate as black and white. If you're torn, here are some middle ground solutions. Buying books secondhand. This allows you to enjoy a book without financially supporting the author. Engaging critically. You can love a story while acknowledging the flaws. Can we talk about Twilight? Okay. Supporting diverse authors. Instead of dwelling on problematic figures, why not uplift new voices? If you love fantasy but want an alternative to Rowling, check out Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, or Children of the Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I said that completely wrong, I'm sorry. And then consume content for free. Libraries, borrowing from friends, or using free platforms can allow you to engage with a work without contributing money specifically to the author. This allows you to be conscious of your impact while still engaging with literature. About fans of YA, where are you? Are you here? You know they can be magical, thrilling, and completely immersive. But let's be real. There are also a dark side to the young adult genre, from problematic tropes, the toxic relationships, and the overuse of trauma. Today, we're breaking down some of the biggest controversies surrounding YA fiction. Buckle up, because it's about to get real. So let's start with one of the biggest criticisms of the YA fiction, the constant reliance on trauma to drive the character's arc. Have you ever noticed how many YA protagonists have suffered abuse, assault, parental death, or severe mental health struggles? While it is important to address real-world issues, some books use trauma as a plot twist or a personality trait rather than treating it with care. Take A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. What starts as a sweet romance quickly becomes an emotional gut punch, relying on illness and heartbreak to force readers to cry rather than develop meaningful character depth. And let's not forget It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Though technically that's more new adult, it's often marketed to YA audiences despite its graphic depiction of domestic violence. Now, don't get me wrong. Books that handle trauma responsibly can be powerful. I write books that handle trauma. But when authors exploit pain for shock value, it starts to feel more like emotional manipulation than storytelling. What do you think? Have you ever read a book that overdid the trauma? YA books love the romance tropes, and sometimes they can be really problematic. The love triangle. We've seen it in Twilight, The Hunger Games, ACOTAR, a girl caught between two guys, usually with zero chemistry development. It's meant to add drama, but often just leads to forced tension and a protagonist who lacks agency. Then we have enemies to lovers, but make it toxic. Who doesn't love a good enemies to lovers? Shatter Me? Anyone? But let's be real. Some of these relationships romanticize emotional or physical abuse. When a guy gaslights, insults, or physically threatens the heroine, looking at you, the cruel prince, it's hard to root for them as a couple. The I'm not like other girls trope. This one is everywhere in YA. The heroine is quirky, bookish, or tomboy. The story makes sure to put down other girls for being too girly. Divergent, Shadow and Bone, The Selection, All guilty. But why does a female protagonist have to reject femininity to be strong? It's outdated and we need better representation. Which of these tropes annoys you the most? Like, I'm not gonna hold y'all. Those are some of my favorite tropes, y'all. Like the toxic trope kind of bunch are some of my favorites. But there is some points in there about how come this, how come that. I mean, I write love triangles. I write enemies to lovers. All of that. I'm interested to hear what y'all think. The last decade, YA books have started pushing the limits of what's considered appropriate for teen readers. With series like A Court of Thorns and Roses or From Blood to Ash, we've seen increasingly graphic sexual content in books marketed as YA. I did not know From Blood to Ash was YA. Now, some older teens should have access to mature stories, but should these books still be classified as young adult? Many of them have explicit sex, violence, and dark themes, leading some readers to argue that they should be labeled as new adult instead. What do you think? Should YA have clearer age ratings like movies and video games? Yes, 100%, y'all. 100%. A has definitely made progress in including diverse voices, but there's still a long way to go. The token diverse character. A lot of books include a single Black, LGBTQ plus, or disabled character, just to check off that box. The Mortal Instruments. If they exist only to support the main character's arc, is that really representation? No. Whitewash fantasy worlds. How many high fantasy books are filled with castles and knights and magic, but somehow have zero people of color? Throne of Glass. Fantasy worlds shouldn't default to being white. Lack of intersectionality. Some books try to be diverse, but they miss the mark by making their diverse characters one-dimensional. Not every LGBTQ plus or BIPOC character should be defined solely by their identity. Some authors, from Children of Blood and Bone and the Poet X, are changing the game, but we still need more authentic nuances in representation. What's a YA book that got diversity right? Let me know in the comments. Toot. Am I toot-tooting? Social media has completely changed how YA books are marketed, and not always for the better. With platforms like BookTok, Bookstagram, certain books get hyped up beyond belief, leading to some disappointment when they don't live up to the expectation. Take Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, praised as the next big fantasy phenomenon. But when some readers didn't vibe with the writing or saw flaws, they felt pressure to either love it or stay silent to avoid backlash. I did not like Onyx Storm as much as I like Fourth Wing. I thought Onyx Storm really flopped. And let's not forget the author's drama. Social media gives authors instant access, but some take it way too far. Responding poorly to criticism, Sarah J. Maas. How do you feel about hype culture? Do you think it helps or hurts YA books in general? The erasure of parental figures in YA. Why are parents so often absent in YA books? A huge number of YA protagonists are either orphans or have absentee parents, or are forced to raise themselves. While this allows for greater independence and higher stakes, it also raises the question, are we normalizing the idea that teens should handle trauma and danger without adult support? Here are some notable examples. Harry Potter, orphaned and raised by abusive relatives. Adult mentor exists, but often unreliable or distant. The Hunger Games. Katniss essentially parents her younger sister due to her mother's emotional withdrawal. Percy Jackson. His mother is loving, but frequently absent due to the dangers of the demigod world. Six of Crows. Kaz and Inej and much of the crew have no adult figures guiding them. Cinder. Orphaned and mistreated by her stepmother. In the Lunar Chronicles, Divergent. Triss's parents are removed from the narrative early, leaving her to navigate a violent world alone. Shadow and Bone. Alina grows up in an orphanage with no parental guidance. They both die at the end. Both protagonists are alone, making their final journey together without any parental figures in sight. While some of these stories need this setup, others seem to erase parents as a convenient plot device rather than a meaningful choice. Not every YA story needs parental involvement, 100%, but more books could benefit from showing strong, supportive parental relationships or just positive adult mentors. After all, most teens in real life don't go into life or death adventures completely alone. We need more YA books that showcase strong parental relationships or just positive adult figures. Because let's be honest, not every teenager is running around without parental guidance. YA fiction is an amazing genre, but is not without its flaws. From problematic tropes to diversity struggles, social media pressures, and absentee parents, there's a lot to unpack. So I want to hear from you. What's your biggest YA pet peeve? And do you think the genre is improving, or are we stuck in this everlasting cycle divulging the same issues? At the end of the day, choosing who you support is a deeply personal choice. Some readers can separate the art from the artist, while others feel it's impossible. And that's okay. There is not one universal right or wrong answer for everybody. So, what do you think? Do you still read books by problematic authors, or have you just moved on? Let us know in the comments below.